All right.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Mabuhay.
Hello po,
I'm
good
Satur
evening.
Tiamson, President of Percussive Art Society Philippine Chapter, and welcome to our first online event for 2023. And happy third year to PAS Philippine Chapter. So
Yeah.
tonight, I'm very honored to host together with two awesome friends here, Vice President Isaac De Alba III and Broadcasting Manager Ryan Peralta. So, kumusta kayo? How are you guys? Isaac, congratulations on your past events in Diet Camarines Sur.
Yes, in Camarines Norte, sir. Yes, it's very successful event here in our province, especially in our province. Kasi nakikita po namin na bumabalik na talaga yung ating industry, lalong-lalo na sa nakikita namin sa marching band. Bumabalik na yung schools natin, bumabalik na rin mag-training yung mga bands. So we are glad that this is happening. Yes po.
Yeah, thank you
Sir
for
Rai, kayo
sharing.
po, kamusta po?
Yeah,
Nice. Oh. Yeah, actually, same here sa Manila naman. Ganun din. Parang concerts are open. Ganun, concert grounds are open. Gigs are opening up also. So, ang laking tulong kasi, I mean, this is something na we never thought it would come back kasi nga our industry was the first one who got shut down during the pandemic, diba? So
Yes
2023,
po.
'di ba? It's back and we're seeing people again, hearing live music and yeah. So
Mm.
yes.
Actually, sir, as
And
we predicted before, like yung mga past events natin, mga online, we started sa online webinars, 'di ba? Noong lockdown na sinasabi natin, lahat ng mga drummers mag-ensayo, magpa-practice. At
tama.
kapag bukas ng industry natin, dun magkakaalaman. Actually, this is the time. We see, nakikita po natin, hindi lang online, there are some competitions,
Yeah,
shows,
yeah.
events, naglalabasan yung mga nag-ensayo nung lockdown period ng pandemic.
Tama.
So, we're glad it's happening.
Oh, tsaka
yes,
congratulations sa events na ginagawa mo, Isaac. Galing. I got to witness one, 'di ba, yung sa ano. Tapos nakakatuwa. I mean, watching the kids and ano, talagang ganun ka-eager
Yes
to
po,
show
sir.
up
Thank you
in
po.
those ano. Oh, yeah. Galing.
yeah, keep up the good work, Isaac and Ryan. And by the way, if you will look back in past 3 years, past Philippine chapter have done a lot of events. So many things happened, even it's pandemic. So I a while ago I checked all the videos. Like we've done 17 online interview workshops, and then tonight is our 18th, okay, 18th online workshop. And then we've done a snare drum competition by John Wooton, the Throwdown Challenge in 2020. And then we've done three virtual percussion festivals or days of percussion. So please stay tuned for our in-person and fourth percussion festival for this year. And we had one basic artist, and that is Professor Tusa. Actually, there too, and Carmi Santiago, because she performed with Tusa, Professor Tusa in Basic 2021. So congratulations to all of them. And then we have four representatives for PAS University student committees. You know who you are. We have two representatives for PAS World Percussion Committee, including me and Professor Tusa. And we featured nine members in past Philippine chapter for past Diversity Alliance Future Hall of Famers, and three members for Spotlight Series, including Mar Dizon, Ernie Severino, and Lexter Del Santos. And then we did three in-person workshops that happened last November in Quirino High School, organized by Isaac de Alba, and of course supported by our PS members, and two in Cavite, Philippines, with our guest artist Troy Brooks. Again, Troy, thank you very much, and hope to see you again. And lastly, we have two scholarship winners in the past. One in the past, and scholarship winners, including Arden Olete from UP College of Music for past President's Basic Scholarship 2021, and today, Cana de la Cruz received her Neil Peart drum set scholarship. So congratulations to you, Cana de la Cruz, if you're watching. And we're so proud of you. By the way, guys, last year I went to PASIC, November 2021. PASIC is the largest drum and percussion events in the world. It's called Percussive Art Society International Convention. Um, I want to share that we received an international award. So this is the Percussive Art Society Outstanding Chapter Award. Okay, and then congratulations to our fellow awardee from Quebec chapter and in US. And the one who given to me is the president of Percussive Art Society for this year, and she is our guest for tonight. Okay, so I'll read her bio. She is a member of the Chamber Percussion Ensemble, the Kaisha Trio, winner of a 2011 Grammy Award by Drum Magazine. In addition to her membership in the Kaisha Trio, she currently serves as president of Percussive Art Society and served as the chair of the Marching Percussion Committee of the Percussive Art Society from 1998 to 2007. She is currently the battery arranger for the Music City Drum Corps, Nashville, Tennessee, and the percussion coordinator and arranger for the Middle Tennessee State University Band of Blue Drum Line. Additionally, Julie is an adjunct professor of percussion at MTSU. Prior to her work at MTSU, she was the percussion specialist at several high schools in Nashville, Tennessee, and many of her groups have medaled in all divisions of the WGI activity and in 1996 and the John Overton High School indoor drum line. Under her direction, they won a in the national championship. She is a member of the WGI National Recognized Adjudication Team and serves as the steering committee for the WGI Percussion. As a member of the Kaisha Trio and as an active clinician specializing in contemporary and marching percussion, she has performed in Seoul, South Korea, Paris, France, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Brazil, and extensively throughout the United States. She received her degree from the University of North Texas. She has published numerous marching and concert percussion features through roll-up productions and Drop Six Media. She is the author of the Modern Multi-Tenor Techniques and Solos and Impressions on Wood, published by Roll Up, and is a co-author of Aptitude, an innovative solo snare drum solo book snare book published by Drop Six Media. She is an endorser and clinician for the Corporation, Innovative Percussion, the Zildjian Company, Grover Pro Percussion, and Evans Drum Heads. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to be with the 2023 Percussive Art Society President, Miss Julie Davila.
Hi, Julie. Maybe you can unmute your device, or I think yeah, there you. One more. Yeah, you had to press the unmute on the. It doesn't say, or okay. Can yeah, I think there's a button there to unmute. And, is that? Oops. Yeah, it's muted on your. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. How come? Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me just try to. Um, Satur, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes.
Oh, you can. Okay, hold on. Let me just.
Yes, I'm also can mute on the mute share.
Because it shows on me that a guest has muted themselves. So maybe can you try to unmute and press and just the button to. Let me see. Let me see. Is it? Is it moving when you press it? Oh, I've pressed it several times. Okay, okay. Oh, how come? Hold on, hold on. What if we try to do a reconnect? Is that fine, Asatur? Like you can
Yes.
go out and come back
All of
again. Is
us,
that fine?
sir.
Yeah.
All of us.
No, no, just for Julie. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Can we try that just for quick?
Yeah, guys,
Yes.
reconnect lang siya.
Oh yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yes po.
Naka.
Before, sir,
Mm-mm.
ano po, hello, for President
Yes.
of the Drumlines of the Philippines, Sir Jason Carino. He's watching po.
Yeah. Oh,
Hello, Jason.
sila Sir Ernie.
Sir
They are
Ernie, nasa gig
there.
pa yan, ha? Si Ernie Severino, nasa gig pa yan.
Ayan, she's back. Okay, let me jump back in. Let's see. There you go. Yeah,
Okay.
it's back and it's clear.
Welcome back.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. Sorry for a little bit of technology. We so happy to be here. I'm thrilled to be a guest artist for this chapter. The Saturn, Ryan and Isaac, all the officers have done such an amazing job with the Philippine chapter, and so I'm really honored to be here today. I hope we have a lot of fun. We're gonna play a lot of fun exercises, talk about marching percussion, and excited.
Miss Julia, I'd like to again thank you for acknowledging even this new chapter that we've done. Sator get finally got to visit you there, and it was really great news. Encouraging for everyone, doing this small work here. So,
You're doing a lot of work. And I wouldn't call that small work. There's some fantastic things happening. So we're just so thrilled to have great leadership in the
that's right,
Philippines,
that's right.
and you all, everyone seems so passionate and excited about percussion and sharing it in your region and even your influence throughout the world. So I'm excited. I think you guys are doing a fabulous job.
Satur, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So again, also thank you for agreeing to get to open up our 2023, right? You get better than that, right?
That's right.
President of PAS right here, and we're really um, eager to hear or what things that you have prepared for us. Um, yeah, anything you want to say, Satur and Isaac? Maybe.
And nothing to say. I'm just excited
Oh
to
wow.
learn from Miss Jule Davila. Then,
Yeah.
and
Oh
we can ask some questions later. We
yeah,
can
yeah.
entertain some questions later.
So guys, remember, it's really early in Julie's area, so she really woke up for this.
Yes.
Please
And
be good.
I also wanna mention there's a download link included in the stream, or the yeah. So if the people who are watching can actually go ahead and download this. This is free, and I think there's even more to come, which are being shared by Ms. Julie here. And
Yes.
yeah, please do. So when we go through the workshop, you guys can follow. We also flash the PDF so you know where we are. So yeah.
Yes.
So anytime,
Actually,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yes.
there are some rudimental drummers watching now, and I believe they prepare their drumsticks and pads so they can follow through
Nice
to the workshop, to the
workshops.
lessons.
Nice, nice, nice. Great, great. So Miss Julie, anytime
I'm ready.
you can go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, how's the stream? Is it okay right now?
Just up. It's a little
A
breaking,
little
but it
blurry.
would clear up sometimes. So we will let you know if it's really if even the audio can't be really seen. So yeah,
Okay, so you can
okay.
still, the audio will still work in time. It might just take the video a minute.
Might be, yeah, yeah. So I think this it's just
So my,
the yeah, get
okay, so
blurred.
my,
Okay.
okay, okay, okay. So Tonight for you, this morning for me, we're gonna do. I've got kind of a long lesson prepared, but for the rudimental drummers, and I think you'll have a lot of fun playing these different exercises in different ways. One thing that I would say that is all the strategies. A lot of what I'm going to present today is practice strategies for the individual, but also rehearsal strategies for the ensembles. So if you play if you're a member of an ensemble, a snare line, a tenor line, um, actually these concepts really relate to just about anything you can do in percussion. So they've worked for me and they've worked for my students as practice strategies individually to become better drummers and a more refined approach. And then with many of the drum lines that I've taught over the last 30 years, I've used a lot of these concepts in teaching my drum lines to play really together, really pristine, and a refined approach. So I hope that you've got some sticks and a pad. And I'm just going to go a little bit in order of, I just want to throw out maybe some vocabulary, some terms that we use to talk about strokes. And I think a lot of you have been taught this between the full down, tap up strokes. But we're going to just start with that. We're going to do a lot of playing together. And if the stream is a little bit of a lag, apologize for that, but hopefully the sound of the pad will still come through. And of course you have PDF downloads of almost everything. The first thing I'm going to start with is a couple simple exercises that are not on your download, so I'm just going to teach this. So we're going to do full strokes, okay? So full strokes, if you wanted to break full strokes down into beginning learning full stroke, right? I teach it we start with the beat up, and we start up and end up, right? There's a percentage of bounce that helps the stick come back up, right? So I do some of the work, but the pad or the drum is going to give you some rebound, and so you just have to stay relaxed enough in the grip that you allow the stick to come back up mostly on its own. Okay, so that's a start up. I'm going to go really fast through the stroke types. Start up, end up. That's how I start my students if they've never really been taught this way. And then consecutively, it would be similar to bouncing a ball, right? It's a motion that stays in motion. So using a lot of momentum and trying not to stop the stick at all. Also, I'm going to talk a lot about what we hear and the tones that we hear today as well. So not only am I thinking physically that I want to move the stick with ease, and I want it to bounce, but I'm also thinking about creating a sound that's the same over and over and over again, a tone. So a lot of times in the beginning with students, sometimes I hear multiple tones with, say, just 8 full strokes, like, there was like 5 or 6 different tones in there. So I listen for my tone, right? And then I try to replicate that, multiple times. And then off, of course, we do everything off the left, right? So we have to be ambidextrous. We have to try to strive for equality in both hands. So you can play match grip if you like. You can play traditional grip. I'm going to play traditional grip for most of today. But start up, end up. What I like about starting up with the traditional grip too is you get a really good wrist turn. That's the one way to build better chops in traditional grip, is to get a really good wrist turn. So if you make this your marker, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start at the top and then at the top. Then you can really get a good turn, right? And some good distance in that traditional grip that's going to match your match grip. Okay, so an exercise I like to do, a lot of groups over here in the States play what we call 8 on a hand. So they might play 8 notes. Over and over again, right? Or some version of that. Some version of that, which is a great exercise. Certainly that's one of an exercise that beginning groups do and super advanced groups do, right? That's one of our primary fundamental strokes and motions. So we want to spend a lot of time refining that and getting better at that. But I like to, when we go into 16 notes, when we play alternating 16 notes, we're essentially playing 8 on a hand where the left hand is just scooted over, right? So if I play my right hand on my leg, all right, and I just play the left hand on the pad, you're going to see I'm playing E counts the second partial, count E, the fourth partial, count in my left hand. But they're gonna look like 8 notes, really. They're gonna move. They are 8 notes, really. 1, 2, ready, go. So if I take out my right hand, they're just basically 8 notes scooted over. So this exercise I like to do is we'll do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and on the right hand. Play a downbeat, and then come in with the left hand, playing only left hand notes after that. So once you start in the second measure, on the E of 2, then you just keep the left hand going. So I'll demonstrate one. So here we go. 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3. So I'm playing all my right hand notes, 1 and 2 and 3, and then all my left hands. E, E, 1. Let's do that twice in a row with linking them together, not stopping. 1, 2, ready, and go. Again. Right, and so you're going to listen for evenness, right? Evenness of the rhythm, that the E and the right, are very consistent and in motion. And then also listening for, do my right hand sounds and my left hand sounds, am I striving for them to sound exactly the same? Or does it sound like very different, right? Now I'm going to strive for the same. So how do you get the same sounds, or how do you, if you don't hear it the same, how do you fix that, right? There's a few different ways. You can make sure that your sticks are moving at the same height, your right hand and your left hand. So distance, right, is a factor. Weight, putting more weight or less weight on one hand can affect the sound. And velocity, so how fast you're making those strokes can kind of sometimes affect the sound. So those are ways to, like, if you don't hear same sounds, start experimenting. I would say first with the distance, and then weight, and then velocity. So velocity would be like if you're super fast in one hand, and not as fast, you might get a more accented note. So let's do that one more time. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to do 2 times through again. But on the second time, we're going to fill in the 16 notes. So let me demonstrate. First time through. Second time through. Fill it in. I'll do it one time. 2, ready, 3. All right, let's do it together. 1. So we're really trying to say really even 8s and 16 notes and really same sounds in the hands. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2. Let's go a little faster. 1, 2, ready, and play again. Again, 1, 2, ready, and go. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do all that off the left. Okay, so left lead, left 8th notes. Now the E's and the U's are going to be on the right. All right, so let's do it without the fill-in first, twice through. 1, 2, 1, 2. Left hand lead. Left. Right. Left. Right. One more time. And 2. Same thing. 1 handed, 2 handed. Right. Left. Right. Left. All right. Now let's fill in that second bar. So that second bar will be left hand lead 16th notes. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, ready and go. Left. Right. Left. Get ready to fill in. And 2. Let's do it again. 1, 2, a couple more times. Left. Faster. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, ready and play. 2, 2, and one more time. Ready, go. Awesome. And then lastly, what we do, a great way to just string those together, string them together, is to play once off the right, and then when you end on the right, you go immediately and start the left lead. So the ending of the right will be 1 handed, 2 handed, 3 handed, right, left, 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 left. Okay, so we're going to try to string them together. We'll slow it down just a little bit, and I'll lead you through that. All right, so these are our fundamental strokes. We're just working on flow, making sure, I always try to think of the science, kind of the scientific law of inertia, and it's an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon. So a lot of the drumming that I do on snare drum, tenors, drum set, anything that sort of has, everything we do has motion, but I really try to keep the stick in motion and try not to interrupt any flow unless I really need to. All right, here we go. And we're stringing it together. Starting off the right hand, and then we're immediately going to go to the left when we end on the right. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, ready, go. 1. We're going to fill it in here. Now we're going to jump to the left. Left, fill it in. All right, one more time. 2 and 1, 2, ready, go. Right. Fill it in. Left. Right. Left. Fill it in. Left lead. Awesome. One more time. A lot quicker, just for fun. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 1, 2. Awesome. So that's just like a very basic, like beginning warm up, but I like to add that kind of that focusing on the second hand, like the hand that trails the lead hand, because a lot of times I think students really think about only the lead hand, and so sometimes you get a little bit of dominance, and so really striving for even sounds. And even sounds off the left lead or non-dominant lead. And that's the basic of our sound quality for everything to come. All right, so that's some full strokes. And if I'm playing loud full strokes, those are going to be my forte notes, like when I play in forte dynamics or accents. And when I play soft notes that move with rebound and lower, those are going to be my taps. So we have full strokes and tap strokes. They move exactly the same. The ceiling is lower, right? And I'll tell you this, in a drumline situation, and even in a solo situation, honestly, the better you sound on the taps in the low end, and we're going to talk a lot about those notes today and those sounds, that's really where you're going to really improve your sound quality in general as a single player, as an independent player, or in your drum line. The best drum lines that you hear have great sound quality and clarity of all the unaccented notes. Okay, so when I'm doing this a lot, this exercise I just taught you, I'm going to do that a lot at the low end, at that tap height. Really trying to get same sounds out of the hands, okay? All right, we're going to go on to, then we've got full and we've got taps, and now here's the secret to a lot of great rudimental drumming is your upstrokes and your downstrokes, making sure that you have great ability to play upstrokes and downstrokes without a lot of tension. That's the key, is not bringing a lot of tension into your playing. And just becoming to just improve your dexterity, the ability to play lots of different patterns with downstrokes and upstrokes. So downstroke starts up, ends down. All right, so that's the stroke that's a transition from loud to soft. All right, so these up and down strokes are both transitions. And I always I made up a mantra a couple 10 years 15 years ago that works really well for me and my students, and it's what it is, it's end the bead where you need it next. So just think of that for a minute. End the bead where you need it next. That could be tenors. That's really important on tenors. I can talk about that in a little bit. Even keyboards, right? If you've heard of the piston stroke, Lee Howard Stevens says the recovery of one stroke is the preparation for the next. So if I'm playing loud and I want to play soft, I've got my beat in place to play loud, and now I've put my beat in place to play soft, right? So I've ended it where I need it next. If I'm playing loud up here and I end here, the chances of me being able to play soft with my beat that high are going to be few or none, right? I'm going to have to make an adjustment and bring the bead down, which makes a lot of extra effort. If I just end the bead where I need it next, then it's in place and it's more efficient. So same thing goes for upstrokes, right? If I play an upstroke, I play soft, and then I prepare my bead. If I have an upstroke, so I can play an accent or trade into fortes. So those are really important strokes, all right? And the thing you want to try to do is try not to, like, I don't know if you can see this, just like squeeze too hard. I see a lot of students over squeeze and create a lot of tension to try to keep the bead down. And really what you want to think about is, yeah, you're going to feel your flesh on the stick, but I think more about just the back of the stick kind of coming into my hand. Those back fingers really control the front of the stick, okay? So try to minimize the tension and the squeeze. And you'll hear it in your sound. You can even hear it when you click sticks. I don't know if you've seen anybody do this before, but if I hold my sticks and I hold them pretty tight and pretty snug, and I hit them together, you can hear the sound of the stick, but they're not very resonant. Listen to the stick sound change. Squeezed, not squeezed. That's a pretty huge difference in the sound, and that makes a difference in the sound when you hit the drum as well. Okay, so let's do, this is an exercise I like to do to make sure my upstrokes sound great. One thing I notice a lot is students will play taps, and then when they go to play an upstroke, they pull really fast, and it's like they're coming away from the drum as they're hitting, right? And that's going to create a different sound than the taps, right? It potentially could have a different sound because you're kind of getting your sound, you're hitting it on your way out. The difference between taps, and I'm going to get really, I don't know if you guys know the word nerd. I'm a nerd. Nerdy here. But downstrokes and upstrokes both go towards it. They both drop to the drum. The upstroke comes up after impact. It's not a different approach. So all taps and upstrokes, the trajectory is to the pad. It's after you hit the pad on that last. So there's an exercise I like to do just to check that. And we're going to do eight notes. And on the last eighth note, it's going to be an accent. Okay, so that means the seventh, eighth note is your upstroke. So 1, that's your seventh, and then and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And so what I'm listening for is, do these all sound the same? And does the upstroke sound like all the other 6 strokes that came before? Or does it sound like this? Which happens a lot, right? So trying to really just think about our tone and our sound being consistent. All right? And then an accent, which will be a downstroke, and then we're going to go to our left. Trying to get that 7th note to sound like the 6 that came before. All right, so let's do this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just jump in, ready, go. All right, so that's a good way to just kind of check, how do you play your upstrokes? You know, do they move and sound the same as a tap, and then they just transition you to the accent? Or that's something that really you can really listen to and make some improvements on. And then there's lots of different exercises where you could just do triplets. Triplets are a great exercise. Triplet accent exercise like that on one hand is a great exercise because you're playing 3 of the 4 stroke types. You're playing a down, tap, and up. So you're tapping up, you're listening, do they sound the same? So I listen, I call those colors. I'm listening for the timbre, the colors of those pitches, right? So my accent is one color, my tap and my up are one color. 2 different mechanics, 2 different ways they move, but we're trying to produce one color. So let's do some accented triplets, 4 on each hand. 1, 2, ready, and go. Again, one more time. Listening for those taps and the ups. So we can use that, and we'll be doing a triplet grid later, but that's a good way, that's a great exercise. You can put on a song on the radio or something in your iPhone that you like and just play that for like 4 minutes at different tempos. And then you're really working those stroke mechanics. All right, let's go on. There's a couple of, just a few of those. The accent tap is paramount. It's so important for not only intermediate and beginning skills, but it makes a huge difference on how you can transition into advanced skills, okay? So let's talk about that for a little bit. So Let's take just 8 notes. Down tap, or down ups. We call this bucks, and play that in each hand. That's the start of another rhythm. So another rhythm that you could add in is the left hand and play 1 E hand. If you notice my right hand, I'm just doing this. And then I throw my left hand. Same off the left. 1 hand. 1 hand. 1 E hand. 1 E hand. Right? Okay. So kind of tracking what each hand does separately. But this figure, 3-note figure, down tap tap, off the right, off the left. You could make that into triplet. Same mechanics. If you can do that pretty well, you can play the whole paradiddle, all the paradiddles, the whole paradiddle family. So if you think about it, paradiddles start with this. If we take out the 4th note, it's just this. Put in the 4th note. However, if you can't do this great, then this is going to suffer. And this is going to suffer. So it's all like literally this motion, which seems like a simple motion and a simple rhythm. Getting that downstroke to stop and play a good tap is really paramount. Double paradiddle, same thing. They start with the same 3-note figure. Triple paradiddles. They all start with this, right? Paradiddle diddles. A lot of times what I see in paradiddle diddles in individual students and in drum lines is they have 3 different heights going on. They'll have an accent height, a left-hand height, because the left hand doesn't play any accents. And then a lot of times they don't get the double right down low enough. So it's like accent height, tap height, and then double right height. So I'll demonstrate that. So this would look for the three changes, right? What we would strive for is the left and the doubles to be here, and the accent to be here. So left and all the left and the double lefts and rights here, accent here. But what we get is not a great downstroke a lot of times, and we'll get like this. So that would sound and look like this. As opposed to. So I'm trying to get down there. So I'm really listening for to be the same, and the accent comes out of that. That's another good exercise I like to do. I check myself sometimes on that. I'll take the accent out, and I'll just play like paradiddle diddles. Like 6 tuplets, bigga 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 bigga. Like what you would do in stick control, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But stick control is like trying to get even, super even sounds per hand with a lot of different patterns. So if I play paradiddle diddles, all at the tap height, trying to strive for all same sounds, all same tones. Then I'll try to get that as great as I can get it, and then I'll add the accent in, and I'll see by the energy change of putting the accent in, did anything change down here? And I'm striving for it not to. So listen to the colors of my unaccented notes, and then when I put the accent in, see if the colors stay the same. wobbles in there. But that's what I'm striving for. That's what I'm listening for when I practice. Even sounds. Right? So even if I go faster, can I establishing a tone and a sound that I'm striving for? Then when you add the accents in, try not to let that alter that really clear sound. It's going clear. It's getting clear for me next week. In a good way. Awesome. Glad I'm helping. All right, so that's just a few different versions of full down tap up and how learning those basic skills and those what I call mechanics, how we move and getting good control of that will help everything you do following that. So I might take a couple questions and then we're going to jump into stick control meets flam grids. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, yeah. So
I don't have questions. Maybe let's check the comment section here.
yeah, for me, this is just made it so clear. Also, for
Am I talking too fast?
no, no, not at all. Not at
No,
all.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Let me
Yeah,
just
this is a
prepare
great review for me.
But and I feel like when I watch other people teach, I might already know the information, but I like to learn how other people describe it or talk about it or teach it. Sometimes you can pick up other ways to say the same thing you already know. That can make it clear. So,
I like
like
the.
I think. No, go ahead.
Sorry. Just picking up some of the things that you said earlier about your, where you end the bead. That's where you start next or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
makes it really clear.
Yeah, in the bead where you need it, right?
Mm.
Because that minimizes any wasted motion.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
because a lot of times when I talked about, a lot of students say paradiddle diddles, they play the accent here, the unaccented note here, and the right hand double here. A lot, they either gotta like try to push that note down while they're playing,
Mm.
right? Or they're just gonna fight that rebound. And so I see that a lot in students. They just can't. They got to get in the bead where they need it next.
Mm.
I see that a lot. If I can just go off script here for a second, Swiss Army triplets.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody know
Sure.
that rudiment Swiss Army
Mhm.
triplets. So I see this a lot.
Yes, yes.
I saw it this week in some of my students. Well, I'm not. That's not a great example, but it's if you watch this left hand, it's too high, right? It's because it's playing a note and a grace note, and if it's really high, a lot of students will like. They'll fight that. All that, everything's bouncing, everything's one height, but you got a grace note in there, right? So what I do with my students is we'll start, if we're gonna play right-handed Swiss Army triplets, I'm gonna just show them what the left hand does, and we're gonna just start with the left hand. And the left hand, the second half of this clinic, I'm gonna do a lot of this, but the left hand just plays this, what I call a shuffle. Right? And then you put in the right hand. And the left hand, you just kind of dribble that little shuffle in. Da, 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 and keep it low. And then if you go out play Swiss Armies off the left, the shuffle's in your right. Little low, keep it low. Not. Remember I talked about the low end is everything, right? Here we go. And 1, 2, left, lead. your beat is supposed to be, and controlling that within whatever passage or rudiment you're playing would just help refine your clarity and your control. So that's just one example of Swiss Army triplets. Just actually paying attention to the not the lead hand can really help you.
Wow.
So
I have a question. Really. In your in your methods or in your techniques, do you have a specific stick height for the dynamics? Like other, if there's 3 inches tap, some instructors designate it as piano, and some other as pianissimo. Do you have any preference or designations for stick height to the dynamic controls?
yeah, that's a great question. And I've through my years of teaching, I've done many different things. I for when I came out of college in North Texas, I was more height oriented. Like I did talk 3 inches for mezzo piano or piano, 6 inches for mezzo piano, 9 inches for mezzo forte, 12 inches for forte. So I've used that. I still somewhat can use that if a student needs that visual reference to get a little closer to the sound we want. So I speak now a little bit more. In my older years, I feel like I've gone more towards not making it so 3, 6, 9, 12 completely height, teaching through heights, but teaching through the sounds that and the dynamic that we're trying to accomplish together, right? So if you're in a drum line, you're trying to accomplish uniformity of sound. And so I'll speak to like, this is mezzo piano or this is piano, and then try to create, I do a lot of playing with my students too, so I'll play it and a little call and response. So I'll play a passage and so they can listen to the dynamics and the phrasing, and then I'll have them play it back and try to match that. So I talk a little bit more about what the sound is and what the dynamic is. So this could be someone's piano. Let's look at this. Right? So what for a student, the quick fix, if I had one student playing like this in the snare line and then another one, I would talk about heights. I would say let's get our heights in line first, right? Like who's wrong? We don't know yet, right? It could be the player that was playing super low needs to come up, or it could be the player that was playing a little higher needs to come down, or maybe they both need to give a little bit, right? So the 3-6-9 can help get you in the right range, and then it's use your ears. I tell my students, let the ears direct then from there. So I guess that's a really long answer for I do both. You can use it as a tool, but I don't use it as the only tool, because I don't want students to only think about what we do physically, and I want them to think about the sounds we produce while we're doing that
So
physical
your
action.
priority
Right?
is the sound. Yes, ma'am. The sound is the priority
Right.
in your methods. Yes. We get it, ma'am. Thank you.
Because here's the other thing, is sometimes I've seen a lot of students that have really good definition between accents and taps, right? They might be like super low taps and really great contrast. But a lot of times they underplay the actual body of the rhythm, right? So if I'm playing some phrase like, right? A lot of students, if they play the taps on accident and it's too low and squeezed, it kind of distorts the actual body of the rhythm. Sounds really choked off. You can hear the accents, but you can't hear the right? So do you hear the difference of that? Can you
Yeah,
guys hear
yeah.
the
Yes, there's
difference?
no groove. There's no
There's
You
no
can
flow,
see
groove.
like
the
that.
grid. Yeah, you can see it.
And there's no body. You can't hear
Mm.
that. Here's no body. Body. And so I'm striving for a lot of players try to just play so low, but they're not producing a good low sound, right? They're like, I can still play low and produce a really resonant good sound. So here's my resonant sound. I'm trying to listen for my tone. I'm going to put the accents back in. Does this stay the same? Or off the left? I make everybody do everything off the left. So yeah, so you really want to talk about sounds, right? And then that also then translates to what if that was some sort of a roll passage, right? Then if you're playing really low and choked, your rolls aren't going to be very open, right? So the rolls could be this or that. So now I'm going to build off this, right? So here's my colors. And when I roll, do they still sound? Like if I took that passage and rolled it. So it's amazing how much that affects all your sound on any even advanced scale.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Total makes
So,
sense.
yeah. Sound is the priority. Actually,
Sound is a priority.
it even applies on the, for example, for the drum set on the hi hat. Sometimes if they, they conceal the softer notes too much, and the
Yeah,
groove doesn't fill out. Yeah. Mm.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, so I do use I don't ignore the heights. I do use that at times. It's just one of the tools. It's definitely a great tool because particularly in drum lines and drumline battles and some of the things that I watch some of the videos, uniformity is an appealing part of why we do marching percussion. When you see 5 snares or 5 basses or 5 tenors, cymbals, right? We're trying to achieve a uniformed approach. So there is a visual element to that. And so heights do help with that, but that the sound is definitely the item that you're trying to create a homogenized approach to a same sound approach within your section. So, all right,
I
you want
have
to
a
go on to
question
some?
about that.
Oh yeah, sure.
When you're teaching, example in an ensemble or a group of drumline, what do you do first if you're teaching a passage? The height or the music or the
Oh,
sound? I mean, the height or the sound. Example, you're teaching paradiddle. You will teach the height first or how it will sound.
well, I think how it will. I think they have to. So the first step would be in a musical passage. Can they play the rhythms and the stickings? Right. So if like I tell my students all the time, it's a rhythm first. It's a paradiddle is the delivery of the rhythm, right? The sticking combination is how we deliver the rhythm, but it's the rhythm first. So a lot of times I'll just make sure, can we play those rhythms with those stickings and execute that as close to perfect as you can. And then if you need to like uh, refine and go, oh, we need to bring that accent up a little bit or bring that unaccented note down, then you can go person to person and kind of tweak whatever it is they need to tweak. But if they can't play the rhythm with the sticking, then it's not going to do you any good to fix a height yet, because the rhythm and the sticking isn't in their hands yet. So I try to make sure the rhythms and the stickings and being able to play in time, whatever that tempo is, that we can accomplish that first, and then we'll go in and take a look at refining all the little things, like bringing this, this person's accents need to come up, or this person's interbeats are too high, and that kind of thing. Because they have to have a good control of what they're trying to do first before they can, make it better. And I've got a great, the end of this, the second half of the clinic I'm going to talk about some strategies on how to get a group to play more alike in some of those passages. So, yeah. All right, let's go on to like stick control.
Okay.
And grids. Okay, so the community there is familiar with grid, that term? Or should I go over that?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
they know the gridding. Most of them.
Okay, so real quick, a grid is like if we had 16 notes, right? 16 note passage. Basically, I'm going to play a measure where I accent the first note of the 4/16. This is just a reminder if we have people watching that don't know what a grid is, I'm just going to make sure I put that out. So 4/16 notes, we're going to accent the first one, 1 E and a 2 E and a. Then what grid means is we're going to move that accent through the different partials of the 4/16 notes. So we just accented the first. Second measure, we're going to accent the second. So that would be 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a. The third measure would be accenting the third of 4 notes, 1, 2, 3. And the fourth would be accenting the fourth. So first note, second note, 1 E and third note. And that's the idea of the grid. We're just basically just scooting that, whatever we're gridding, we're scooting that over, okay? So you kind of have to know that first to get into what we're going to get into. And again, even on the grid, I'm listening for this. The magic is in the unaccented beats. It really is. So I'm really listening for same sounds down here. I'm literally trying to only create 2 sounds. An accent sound and an unaccented sound. Okay? And listen, and you're playing this measure. We have 16 notes in that measure. 4 of them are accented. 12 are not. So pay attention to the 12 more that aren't accented. Right? If I can get my 12
Nice,
notes that are unaccented sound good, right? Accents are easy. Honestly, accents are easy. That energy of playing an accent, it's this. That's the secret sauce. If that doesn't sound good and you want to add flams to it, it won't get better with flams. Right? It's like, they're building blocks. Like, this has to sound good before you can go. Or, like, I can't, if I want to play more advanced things in my grid, the primary accent grid has to sound great first, and then you add things in, right? It's like adding spices. I'm going to add in a little salt and a little pepper. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is, if you look at number 4 on the stick control meets flam grid, everyone. It's number 4. You'll see lefts and rights, L's and R's. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to play let's go one line at a time first. Let's play the first line. And we're going to play that at the tap height. So unaccented notes, and this is like stick control. You can do stick control exercises at all height, at all dynamics, right? I can do stick control up here. Or I can do stick control. The idea is just practice at all those different dynamics so that you're ready. Your hands can play whichever dynamic needed when you transition into musical passages. But we're going to play this number 4, line 1 at a tap height, so you can say 3 inches or mezzo piano. All right, and what we're striving for is same sounds. All right, here we go. So these are 16 notes, slow 16 notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a ready and go and 2 again. We'll do that a couple times. One more time and ready and go and. Okay, so now we've established this color. Right, that tone, that sound quality. All right, so it's really important. We're trying to get really good same sounds. So what we're going to do is this grid is a flam grid. So this is the same grid as I just taught you. So instead of accents, we're going to flam it. Here I go, I'm going to flam it. So I just replaced the accents with flams. So how does that apply to line 1? Well, line 1 is actually what's inside of the first passage with flams. So the first left, where you see left, left, right, left, the first left in each one of in that line is the grace note to the flam. So if you've never seen this concept, this might be a little odd, but it's pretty fun to learn, is to fake a flam. So if I fake a flam, I'm going to play my grace note and just gesture my primary note, the big note. So everybody just kind of play around with faking a flam. So you can start with your right beat up, left beat down, and just gesture the loud note and play the grace. So once you get comfortable with that, that takes a little while. Then if I just gesture, I play all the notes in line 1, as I just practiced at the low level, and I gesture the flam on the first of each 4 stickings, then I'm actually cleaning, I'm actually paying really close attention to my grace notes and my inside notes to get them really even. And it will improve your overall sound in the grid. So here I am, I'm going to play. Let me play line 1, just stick control, just down here, and then I'll repeat it and I'll gesture, I'll fake that flam, but still try to have line 1 sound like it did the first time. So here we go. So just listen to the sounds here, and 1 E and a 2 E. One time. So here's the stick control. So I hope that you can hear that. It's pretty close, right? When I'm gesturing. note to get actually in that is the single right, because you've got a lot of energy to play the accent. Right now I'm just gesturing it, but it's like a lot of energy in kind of the throat. And then you still gotta play a soft sound. So you gotta kind of get comfortable with that, which eventually will lead to this. Which I talked about in the beginning of the whole clinic, that a lot of things come from that, right? Paradiddles. And now we get into flams. Basically, my right hand's doing that. So let's do that. Why don't you do that with me? We're going to play line 1, and we'll repeat it. The first time through is just what's written on the page, all low level. The second time through, if you can, fake your flam. Gesture the flam. All right? Here we go. 1E and a 2E and a ready and go and. And ready a couple more times. One more time. Ooh, that wasn't a good one. Let's do that one again. For me. Alright, next step. So I would practice that for a while, right? Get really good at that. Try to refine that. And then let's do it this way. Let's first time through gesture the flam. Second time through actually flam it. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2. So we're gesturing first. And let's end not on an accent. All right, don't end on an accent because we're going to go on to line 2 in a minute. One more time, gesture, then flam. 1, 2, doing great. Ready, and go, and. All right, so I don't know if that fake flam is new to you, and if that's awkward still. That took me a long time to get really comfortable fake flamming. So it didn't happen overnight. It's just something you can work towards. Let's go on to the second line and we'll do the same thing. So let's stick control. Let's just play the stick control. Just the pattern twice through. 1, 2, 3. 2, ready, and again. Sorry, twice through. We're going to repeat here. Repeat. All right, so that's our pattern that's inside where the flam is on the second note. So the second right is your grace note. Right? And the third right is the note after the flam. So if we gesture there, we're going to go 1E and 1E. We're going to fake flam that on the second note. All right, that's a little tricky when you're getting into fake flams off the non-dominant hand if you're right-handed. So let's do line 2, stick control, and then gesture. Fake flam it. Here we go with me. Ready, and go, and. Trying to make it sound the same. So right there, my sounds were pretty close to the same, but I had a little rhythmic bobble in there, if you heard that. So those are things you pay attention to. Are my rhythms consistent, and do my sounds sound the same? All right, so let's gesture. First time through, flam it the second time through. 1, 2, 3, and one more time, and ready, and go. All right, so Let's keep going. Third line, the flam will be on the and, right? So our pattern underneath that is right, left, left, left. And the second left of the three is your grace note. All right, here we go. Stick control and gesture. On, fake flam it. 2, ready, and stick control. Fake flam it. Again, and ready, and stick control. Right, left, 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 right, left, 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 right. Fake flam. How's this sounding? Is it the same all the way through? 1, 2, ready, and go. Oop, I rushed a little bit. Here we go. One more time. All right. Now let's gesture flam it. 1, 2, ready, and go. Again, and ready, and a go. All right, and the last line, same process. Stick control first. There we go. 1, 2, ready, and go. Again, ready, and go. And oops, had a little rhythmic bobble there. One more time. Ready, go. How about twice through without stopping? Really, the hardest note to get consistent is that left hand, single left, because you have a lot of momentum in the repetitive motion, right? All right, let's gesture. So it's going to be right. That's second right, or last right in the groupings of 4 is your grace note. Let's just try a little slower. Stick control, and then gesture. 1, 2, and ready, and go. Gesture. Again, and ready, and go. Stick control. Right, left, right, 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 left, right, 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 left, right. Gesture. All right, now we're going to gesture, flam it. 1, 2, fake flam it. Ready, and go, and fake. Flam it. One more time, and ready, and go, and fake. Flam. Okay, so I'm going to go kind of quickly through this because I'm just going to, this is your assignment just to practice it on your own. We're not going to be able to kind of clean it and get great together on this podcast, but let's do it together. So we're going to go line by line. We're going to go stick control flam, right into the next, stick control flam, right into the next, stick control flam, right in the next. So 2 times through each line. First time, no flams. Then flams. Second line. Third. Fourth. All right, here we go. Try to hang in there, and 1 and a 2 and called in. Here we go. One more time. Let's do the third and the fourth line, and I'll try not to talk while I play. Obviously, can't do that. Third line. 1, 2, ready and go. One more time. Third and fourth line. 1, 2. Ready, stick control. Okay, so for all the hot shots, let's go a little faster. Same thing. One line stick control, one line flams. See if we can get to the end together. And 1, 2. All right, how'd we do? How are we doing with that concept?
Great, very informative, and it will develop your stick control rhythm, especially on flams, because there are many cases in flams it will be flat or it will sound like a double stop. But with that mindset, you can control better your sticks. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, do you incorporate any Moeller type movement with your, with your drum line or solos? Yeah,
Sure,
if
yeah.
you're incorporating a Moeller.
We do talk about molar when it's needed. Um, because, yeah, great questions. So a lot of times the molar stroke, well, it's a you can use it in a lot of different ways, right? You can use it at slow tempos, right? To kind of just it's really relaxed, right? A little less effort than like down up down, like thinking those two. It's almost the down and the up are, you get the upstroke kind of off of the preparation for the down, right? So that can be really helpful. A lot of times I might talk about like more like the relaxation of that. But what I find where we use it most is in like really fast figures, or like where you need a little bit of a whip motion. Like for instance, flammecues have a whip, right? Right. You got that fast 1E, 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 1E. So a lot of times I will talk about the molar stroke if it's like most of the time if it's a kind of a fast passage and you need that whip action, right, to work for you. So I tell my students when we practice molar, if I don't have a towel, like if you flick a towel, has anybody ever taken like a little towel and you flick it, right? Your hands going like, and then for molar, just turn that over, right? Like a flick the towel, and then just your hands on the side. And then for molar, turn your hand over and flick the towel, right? It's kind of a similar motion. It's kind of a quick snap, kind of a quick whip. So I do address it if it's needed.
I have
Yeah,
follow-up
thank.
questions.
Yeah.
As an arranger for a battery or drum line, do you deal with or do you teach the technique also, how playing it, or there are other people that will teach that or explore on the technique that you wrote?
For what group? Any
For
groups?
any drumline group, ma'am. Do you
So
like that?
it depends. Now, I don't teach the Music City Drumline Corps anymore. I crossed over at DCI about 5 years ago and started judging for DCI. So I don't teach a drum corps because I'm judging, but with my college university group and any high schools that I might clinic or consult, I teach a lot of technique. I love technique. Like I love the all the little like I told you, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I don't know if that word translates, but like um, I kind of geek out. I get excited about all the fundamentals and all the technique and really taking a fine look at how we move and how we play and how we sound. And so I enjoy that, and it's a lot of what I do when I'm teaching a drum line, and also even with my private students. If they haven't, I have a lot of private students at the college that have come from different high school programs, and a lot of them have missed some of the fundamentals they needed. And so we'll go back, and a portion of our study is just going back and refining their approach and their technique.
I have a question about that. Would you is that more difficult though, like repairing than because like these things, I don't know, to me it's kind of new, so you might have started in the wrong way and then now correcting it in a way. Is the journey more difficult to repair?
It 100% yes. I a lot of
Uh-oh.
times but it's worth it. But it's worth
That's
it.
right, yeah.
Um, a lot of times, particularly when I was teaching high school, I would have students who had played for 3 years in their lower level school, their middle school, and if they weren't taught well, because a lot of band directors don't really pay attention to what the percussion are doing, to be honest. So, they'll. It's frustrating because they'll spend a lot of time teaching the embouchure to a trumpet player or to a sax player, but they might not teach what I call our embouchure, which is our fulcrum, right? And all the specifics, they let that go because I think it's so easy to just go, oh, the student holds the stick.
That's it.
That's good enough, So bad habits are hard to break.
Mm, mm.
And if a student has played for 3 years with a lot of poor habits, it takes a while. Depends on the student. They have to, because you can give them all the information, but they have to act. They have to take action on that information, right? I find that the hardest habit to correct is a small change, the smallest change. So like if I have a student that comes in and they're playing like, really thumb up, say, and I want them to turn over just a little bit more. Literally, this small change is so hard for them to police themselves, and to like just make that change. So sometimes those hard little like just little tweaks are hard, but it's worth it. And I will say, when I'm teaching groups, we spend a lot of time on lots of different exercises and sticking patterns, because if they can play a lot of different patterns and rudiments and exercises well, the music is literally stringing different patterns together, right? So when you're doing exercises, you're actually preparing to play music or phrases. So I spend a lot of time in playing exercises with my groups before we play the music.
About that,
Mm.
Julie, you have any recommendations how many hours per day you need to exercise or warm up, especially this full strokes, full strokes, the eight notes, the greetings. Do you have any recommendations about that?
Um, well, For a drum line, just like a group.
or as an individual?
Oh, it really is. It's really up. It's like anything else. Like however much you invest is what you're going to get out of it, right? So, um,
Mm.
I back in the days when I was training a lot on my own, I don't get to practice very much now because I'm teaching all the time or PAS and life takes over. But when I was practicing a lot, say my last year of high school and all my college, I mean, as an individual, I was practicing 6 hours a day.
Mm.
But but that was everything. That was marimba, drum set, snare drum, But I that was just my personal sort of goal is that I tried to get 6 hours a day in. But that's unrealistic for most people. So I would say in your training, I would spend a good amount of time on. I mean, it just depends on where you're at. I was like that first exercise we did. This. Like that. That seems easy, but like to play that consistently, great. It just takes time. Or I would probably spend more time on my accent tap exercises and do a lot of different variations because that's a lot of what you're going to have to be able to do to play music well and particularly advanced skills. I don't know if I can give that a time. I would just say, and also I practice slow a lot. I'll tell you this is a really great practice strategy, even if you're like a superstar, right? If you got like somebody out there that's like a superstar, this is still a great strategy. I call it my ABC method. So if I have a passage that I want to play, I'll take that kind of groove idea. And let's say I want to flam that and throw some flam drags. Right? Some kind of pattern in there. Just kind of making it up on the fly. So if I want to ABC that, A is like super ridiculously slow. B is moderate, and C is where I think I want to be, right? So I might go. Right? That might be my A. So I can really hear everything. I can hear all that. Right? That's my A. Yeah? And then B might be just a smidge faster. Or maybe. Right? And okay, how did I do on my B? Am I still clear? Is everything still clean and in place and all my sounds good? Okay, if I can do my B, then I'm gonna go. Then I can go into my C. But literally, most of your improvement will come from doing A and B. And then C is just a byproduct of investing in A. Right? It's just that A, B, and ABC can go really quickly. So if you have a phrase of music, like 8 bars, 16 bars, and I do this with my groups as well, my ensembles, I'll say, okay, we're going to ABC this from letter A to letter B. And when we rehearse, usually the A sounds terrible first time out that you do it. If they're used to playing everything fast and you slow it way down, it's going to blow up. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to blow up and it sounds like they don't know they're not great at what they do. But that's where you find so many things to fix, right? And you find so many things to refine in the super slow. So we'll take if we go from rehearsal letter A to rehearsal letter B, A tempo. So let's say the music's supposed to be played at like 152. I'll make them play it at like 96. And the students hate it because it's just like they really do, but we find a lot to clean in that 96. And then maybe our second tempo is like 130, and then and we get back to the 152. But I do that a lot, and I actually got that from John Wooten. You mentioned John Wooten earlier in the introduction of the clinic. John was, when I went to the University of North Texas, John was a graduate student there, and so he taught the drum line some, and I was playing in the snare line, and he did that a lot. He would make us take a phrase and he'd slow it way down, and we really struggled with slow. But once you can play it and control it at slow and clean it, you get a better idea of really what clean is, and then you can build upon that. So with my students now in rehearsal, it goes pretty fast. I say, okay, hey, let's take letter A to letter B and let's A, B, C that. They already know, so I don't have to explain what that means, and so I'll just turn the metronome really slow. We play it, we talk about some things, find it. All right, here we go, B, and then C. And we'll do that a couple times. And sometimes that's just an opportunity. I'll tell my students, like, okay, we're going to play it at A. I can't, this is just giving you a checklist on what to practice on your own. So sometimes we don't, even if it's really bad, we'll try to make it better at the slow tempo, and we'll get there. A lot of times, just the second or third time, it's better already. But sometimes I do, okay, I'll communicate to the students, like, okay, that shows you where your work still needs to be done. We can't have time in the full ensemble to do that, so make sure that's a part of your practice. So some of that is building awareness too. So the other thing I do for a rehearsal strategy with tenors and bass drums, because I'm sure we probably have some tenor drummers maybe and bass drummers on here, is I call it the A-B method. So the A method for tenors is that you play the whole musical passage on drum 2. So you don't get to move everything. You just literally play it on drum 2 and make it sound great on drum 2. Like all the accents, all the unaccented notes, the diddles, whatever you have. That's A. And then B is moving it around the drums. So I'll say tenors, hey, let's A, B these 4 bars. And they know right away, A is we're playing it all on drum 2, and B, we're moving it. And a lot of times, as they get better all the time, when they get better on drum 2, they're also training their ears to what's this supposed to sound like, so that when they move it, it gets closer and closer to what it's supposed to sound like. Because a lot of times when tenor drummers start moving their rhythms, right, the definition isn't as good sometimes, right? They might not play their accents and their unaccented notes as clear because they're worried about where they're going. And then with bass drums, the term A-B means that A is they play the measure or 2 measures or 4 measures unison. So everybody plays the part as if it were a snare part. And then B is split. And the unison gives everybody a better idea of what is this rhythm? When we split our parts, we're still saying, right, one thing. We're trying to have what we call a composite rhythm. Like if the composite rhythm for bass drums is, right, so I get all my bass drums to play together. And just get that really good, because that gives them an idea of, even though they might have 1 and 2. They might have 2 notes in that passage. They have to have an idea of the notes they play, how they fit into the whole rhythm. So with bass drums, particularly when you get into bass solos or really tough measures, we break that down and we A B it. Everybody learns it, and it might be really slow a few times through to make sure everybody knows what the whole rhythm is supposed to sound like. And then when they split it, they have a better idea of how their notes fit into that rhythm. So A B C rehearsal technique. A B for tenors, drum 2, and then around, and A B for basses. A being unison, B being split.
Mm. Wow.
Thanks for the
Thank you. That's a
information.
very
I
good
know.
That's great stuff.
coaching technique. That's a good coaching technique,
Yeah, yeah.
especially in tenors because it's really hard to teach tenors.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think also once you establish those rehearsal techniques with your students, you don't have to explain it. It's a quick, it's just really quick to keep a rehearsal efficient. Yeah. And I will say about tenors too, when I mentioned that, in the bead where you need it next statement, really important for tenor drummers, right? Because they're going to end the bead up and down vertically where they need it next. Like we talked about snare drummers, snares have to like control like accents, unaccented, right? Everything happens in a vertical path. Tenors have to do that as well as move left to right. So when they end, like if they were playing this pattern and they're playing between, say, drums 1 and 2, I'm going to move just a little as if I were playing on 2 different drums. They have to end the beat next, but also over the next area that they're going to play. Or the upstroke moves back to drum 1 or drum 2. So tenors have a lot. They have to have great control of all that on the move in the beat where you need it next. So I break that down a lot on tenors where the beads are going. So
Wow.
how are we doing? We want to keep going or
Well,
what?
continuing to what you were just talking about. There's a question that we have here. I mean, going back to that, I'd like to read the one from Richard Keem de Luna. He's asking, what is the difference about grace notes and tap notes? Although when we're seeing playing those two notes are they are those two notes are the same or similar. What are the correct approach and execution for those two? So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. There's no right answer completely. I break it down. So when we did that stick control and we fake flammed it, right? At that point, my grace notes and my taps are the same, right? However, that might not always work, right? There's times where you might want the grace note to be less than the tap note. But I find for my playing and my students, honestly, if most of the time grace notes are just too high, most of the time. So if you can at least get it down into the tap range, they can play better flams. And then as players get better and better, then like there are some times when you're playing fast passages where you just have to, I call it kind of dribble that grace note in, and it's going to be, it's going to be way down, depending on the tempo. So I don't really have a solid, like, definite answer. I think the better you get, the more adjustments you can make, right, as a player. So if you start out with this number 4 and you can get that really great, I think you'll find everybody will find like a lot of improvement, in your overall sound quality. But then as you get better, if you want to make that grace note a little lower, then you're through practice you can start to manipulate that a little bit more. So it's just kind of being able to, we do all these things so that we can better like facilitate when we get a piece of music, like, you know, if I want, for instance, like sometimes I have my students, they play flat flams, right? I think Ryan mentioned this, like the flams sound like a double stop, right? So what I'll have my students do that have flams that sound like a double stop is I'll make them play flams that are really open. Almost get a. And then we'll just start moving the grace note a little closer and a little closer. So we're moving it over. What if they were like this, they're gonna start going like this. Because right now they play their flam like this, right? Grace note and primary note hit the same time almost. So I open it up it's to the extreme and then start getting it closer until they hear it as a flam before it's a double stop. So it's the same thing with the grace note. This and the right, you could go soft and then bring it, you know, you can vary where that grace note sits depending on how you want your sound to be. So it's just a lot of experimentation. I'm an advocate of a flam sounding like a flam, not a double stop. I think a flam should sound like a flam. So you probably hear a lot of my flams sound maybe a little more open than what a lot of drumline teachers.
Yeah.
Instead of, I can't even do it. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm an advocate of a little bit more open of a flam, but anyway, I hope that helped. It's just like being able to move things. You know, you have so much control. That's what we're working towards, is so much control that if I want my flam and my grace note to be this far apart, I can do it. If I want it to be this far apart, I can do it. If I want my grace note to be really low, I can do it. If I want to bring it up a little bit, you can do it. You know, it's just putting it in place to do all things.
That's like the extreme A when you get
Right.
all the
Exactly.
way, all the way down. Wow, this is a lot. I mean, you just did one number from the page, but it's like
Yeah, that's a lot.
tons of work. Yeah.
Okay, so
We can keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's
Maybe we
keep
can
going.
choose another. Pick another.
yeah, so because of the time, I took a lot of time on all that.
Mhm.
I might just talk through the second
Okay.
page a little bit.
Okay.
So if you look at number 5, everyone.
Okay.
So yeah. So 4A, real quick. 4A is just the flam grid written out. So 4 is the stick control, and then 4A is just that grid just written out for you, so you have it written out. Then 5 is the stick control for a triplet grid. And this is why we might skip ahead a little bit, but the triplet grid would be, we have 3 notes in the triplet, and so we're going to accent a measure of accenting the first note, measure of accenting the second note, measure of accenting the third, just like we move the accent through the 16 notes. So triplet grid would be. And then, right? And if we wanted to flam that, then we would just add the flam where the accent. Okay? So, just like you did with the 16 notes, I'm just going to throw this out here and you can practice on your own. You can do it the same way, like just fake flam, right? So that would be line 1, right? Fake flam. Right? And line 2 would be fake flam. And line 3 fake. Sorry. fake it or play it. So you can do the whole process of, you can still control that whole thing and then put the flams back in. Similarly, go down to number 6. I like to do this exercise. It's the paradiddle pyramid, where you play 4 single paradiddles, 4 double paradiddles, 4 triple paradiddles, and then back to double and back to single. So you go single, double, triple, double, single. And you can do that with just accents. So if I do basically 4 of each. So we call that the paradiddle pyramid. Single, double, triple, double, single, 4 of each. So you want to get that great, right? Like that's first out of the gate. Good. All your taps to sound the same. So hopefully you're hearing, and most of the time, 2 colors, right? I use the term color a lot. This color and this color. So I'm just listening for 2 colors. And you have upstrokes in there. So we're going way back to the beginning of the clinic where we talked about the taps and the up sounding the same. And a single paradiddle, the second note is the up. Down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, up, tap, tap, down, up. But the key is getting the up and the doubles that follow it to sound the same. That's pretty slow, but when that translates to fast, that's where, again, as you get faster and you get into more advanced stuff, the work and the slow. You're just striving for those same sounds all the way through. So you could take that paradiddle pyramid and do the same stick control flam it, right? So my single paradiddles, there's the stick control for that, right? As you notice, there's 4 consecutive notes that keep cycling when you play flam paradiddles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't talk and play. So the third of the 4th notes is where your grace note is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So the third of all the 4s is your grace note. Stay on single paradiddles for a while, and then cycle into doubles, and then into triple paradiddles. So you can do all that same process of stick control, adding in flams to the 16-note grid, triplet grid, paradiddle pyramid.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
The fake flam is really confusing.
I know. I know. I was trying to check it out earlier. The fake flams, like. That's new.
I know.
I believe in the hybrid book they called it ghost.
Ghost, right.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the same. Like sometimes that's why I say gesture, because you kind of still gesture that you're going to play the main note.
But it's not.
Right, but you don't tap. You actually don't hit the drum, right? So yeah, it's really fun. Once you get it, it's really fun, and it really cleans a lot. So,
Nice,
Want to go on
nice.
to one more thing?
Sure. Maybe how about the? I know you have another PDF that
Yeah.
you wanna quickly. So for the viewers who already downloaded both files, they would know how to work on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just pull
You,
that up.
you can skip some parts if you want. Yeah,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, tell me
I'm
how
not
much
sure.
time you want me to spend on the rest. Like
Okay.
10 minutes, maybe
Yeah.
15.
If there's anything that you would want to cover more,
Okay.
right?
So I'll just so we'll pull up the handout that says hands separate, and so I'll teach the concept, and then but we might not get to everything on the page, but the concept's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how this changed my playing. This completely changed the way I practice and also the way I teach my drum lines. I use this a lot in my drum lines when I'm trying to clean a phrase with snares or tenors because so I'll just go into it. So it's called hand separate. So I'm gonna demonstrate using rudiments, but I also do this concept within phrases of music or small passages, 4 bars or 8 bars. But it's called the hand separate approach. So basically we're gonna track and learn and refine what each hand plays separately within the composite of a rudiment. So I kind of already demonstrated this a little bit, but let's start with single paradiddles. And the first way I do this with my students is I just separate the hands. So I'm sitting down right now on a drum throne, but if you're standing or you have a snare drum, you could put one hand on the rim and one hand on the pad or the drum. I'll use my leg for right now so that you don't hear the other hand. But we're still going to play it. So we're going to play single paradiddles and we're going to just figure out when I play single paradiddles together it feels a certain way, right? Well, I'm going to take my left hand, put it on my leg, and I'm going to play 8 single paradiddles. Still playing all my accents and everything my left hand would play, but I just put it on my leg so that I can hear and see what's happening in just my right hand. So what I'm doing when I do that is I'm going to figure it out. So my rhythm would be 1 and a. First it's like getting used to hearing it that way. So the rhythm in the right hand is 1 and a E, 1 and a E, 1 and a E, 1 and a E, which you see on the handout. So I get that, I get familiar and more comfortable with that. Then I can look at the mechanics of that and the dynamics I need to play. So I'm going to play a down. It's written on the page. Those will be down, tap, tap, up. So now we have the rhythm and the dynamics. And we can really just examine that. How well do I do that? Do I have great control? Are my taps and ups the sound the same? Right? Lots of things you can examine in that. And then I'm going to switch, put my left hand on the pad or drum, my right hand on the leg. Still going to start with my right hand though in the paradiddles. I'm not going to start with the drum. I'm starting with my right hand. 1, 2, 3. So I know now my rhythm is E2 and a E4 and a 1 E2 and a E4 and a. I find the rhythm first, get that really great, and then I dig in deeper and I go, okay, what are my dynamics of that hand and the mechanics? What's an upstroke? What's a down? Right? So I know that's the first note I play in my left is an up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. So I'm really just pulling it out, right? I'm extracting the right hand or extracting the left hand and examining it. And then when I put it back together, if those two are significantly better, like if I can go my rhythm is perfect, and my colors are great, my heights are great, right? Then I'm ready to go. I can put it back in, and everything got better because of that sort of extraction. The other part that I play in that is when I'm trying to learn to play my rudiments faster, I'm trying to get faster. I can only go as fast as I can do either one of those figures, right? So you can use it as a tool to go, okay, I can play this really well. Say that's 112 or something, and I go, okay, what would 120 or 118, 132? You know, you could kind of like, then you might find a breaking point where you don't sound, you can't play it great yet. Let's say 160 or 170, or whatever your goal tempo is. And I usually increment by metronome markings of 4. So if I can play 110 really, really great, then I'll just nudge it to like 114. Because that feels like it's a little quicker, but it's not so extreme, that you can't hold on. And so I just nudge my metronome by like 4, and then I see where I can go with that for tempo. So it improves your sound quality, hand separate, and it gives you a way to build towards playing these figures faster. So that's a single paradiddle. I've written the double paradiddle, the right hand, left hand, single flam, right hand, left hand. Let's go into flam accents. So this is like flam accents in its entirety is basically flams triplets, right? So let's extract, all right? We're going to take our left stick and put it on our leg or the rim, and our right stick on the drum or the pad, and we're just going to figure out the rhythms and where the accents are on the right hand. So we'll slow it down. Check it, ready, go. Two, ready, go. One triplet, two triplet. So we're thinking 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 let 2 triplet, 3 left. And also, after that's great, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up. Then we switch, left hand on the pad, right hand on the leg, still starting with the right hand. 1, 2 triplet, ready, go. Two, ready, go. So I'm thinking tap up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down. It's that in the beat where you need it next. There's no wasted efforts in that. Everything's where it needs to be. The rhythm is there, the motion, the heights, the sound quality. All right? And then you put it back together. Hopefully you'll notice some improvement in that. And what I like to do when I put it back together, if you can eventually get to the point where I can play flam accents, I can sing my right hand only. So I'm kind of playing it together, but focusing more on my right hand. And then play it together and sing my left hand. So I might do it like this. Da, 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 da. Or I could say down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down. Tap up, down, left hand. Tap up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap. Left hand again. Da, 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 da. So I can sing my right hand, ba, 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 so in that example, I sang one measure of my right and one measure of my left. And it's just a good way to kind of sort of like be able to focus, draw attention to what the different hands are doing. inside of playing it on the drum. There a lot of drum set players do that, right? You play certain figures and you sing other figures. It's like your fifth limb, if you will. So I really recommend that. That's an awesome kind of fun thing to work towards.
Wow, it's like different perspectives on on both sides.
Yeah.
Isolation.
And you can do that with every rudiment, particularly your flam rudiments. You'll notice your flam rudiments get way better with. And so I've given you a handful of rudiments as an example, and then you can take that concept and
In the
students
others,
can
yeah.
take that
Yeah.
concept. Yeah, no.
So first it was the fake flam, and now putting it on the silent side.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a,
Yeah.
yeah, that's new. And it
And then
actually,
I have one.
yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So I want to share one more thing, and then we can take some questions and kind of close it out. But on the second page of this exercise, of this handout, because I want you to be able to take it and use it. If you look at number 1, it's kind of a small one. It's the middle exercise. This is 2 lines from a book called Wrist Stroke Studies by Charlie Wilcoxon. And it's basically pages of different patterns, accent patterns. And I've taken the first page of that book and used that in so many different ways. Sometimes you can do it like, you can use it as your single hand accent tap. So number 1, you can go. And just do, single hand accent taps. And then you can do alternating off the right, alternating off the left. And then what I like to do is you can we call it a spree. You can put anything in. It's like a soup that you can put a bunch of different vegetables in, right? So I like to take these lines and like keep repeating and adding different things. So if you see what I wrote on the page, this is what I'm gonna use for today. First 2 times, I'll go 2 times on each pattern. 2 times through playing accents, 2 times through playing accented diddles. So add a diddle to the accent. 2 times through playing tap drags, which is the accent is in its place and the diddle comes on the note after. That's a tap drag. 2 times through flam drags, and then flam 5s. So I'm going to do that for you, but that's just a great way, and you can do whatever, you can throw in other things, but so I'm just going to follow that sort of line above where it says what comes next. So here's accents, and I'm just going to keep going, no stops. Again. So I just used each one of those kind of patterns and I just filled it in and used it. That's sort of another sort of grid concept. Sometimes people call that a spree. And then I would do it all off the left. Don't neglect the left, right? So I would go, all the same thing. Flams off the left. Flam drags. Flam 5s. everything off the left. Right? So, and then the second one down is a really fun exercise. We used to do it at University of North Texas. It's 7/8, and it's just like the one I just played for you. You would insert each one of those things. So that has a nice groove to it. I'll just play it once for you. So here's the accented pattern. I'll go through one of each. So it's kind of the same concept. And then off the left, of course. So I think that's pretty close to everything I wanted to cover.
Yeah. Woo. Great
Woo!
stuff.
Shit.
I'll check my Wilcoxon tomorrow.
I know, right?
Page by page.
Awesome.
I have a beginner question. Admitting
Sure.
beginner question. The flam fives, how did that that go? I got lost on
Oh,
that last part. Yeah,
sure. So just how to play a slam 5?
yeah. Flam fives and how it applied to replacing the
Oh,
accent.
okay. So a flam 5 is actually a 5-stroke roll that you flam the
The
first
first
note.
one. Ah, okay.
So if you go, and then off the left.
Oh, okay.
So that's just the basic approach to it's just a flammed 5-stroke roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's look at so that number 1, the one that's in 2/4. So my flam 5, the first diddle would be with the flam on the accent, and then the second diddle comes on the note that follows. So if I'll go really slow, like. So in that first figure, the 1 and the E have the diddles, and the flam is on the accent. So you add a diddle. So have you guys heard the term cheese? Do you know the term cheese?
Yeah. Yes, flam
Yeah.
and diddle.
Flam and diddle. So it builds off of that. So I could cheese that number 1. And then the flam 5 is just add another diddle after the cheese.
Ooh, interesting.
And they're so fun. They feel so fun in the hands.
It's the
Yeah.
way you made it is like, ooh. and
Yeah.
and doing it on each, covering everything from how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6,
Okay,
6
Jill, I have
variations.
questions, ensemble
Sure.
questions, more of ensemble questions. What year you last teach Music City? I think 5 years ago. You told earlier.
Oh gosh. I'm not really sure. 2000. It might have been more than 5 years. 2013, 14. I'm not sure which year I taught it. I wrote. I didn't teach for them. I wrote for them for 3 years. So I want to say it was. I don't remember. I'm not very good at remembering years. But I think it was around the middle of the 12, 13, 14.
Okay, because
It was
I've noticed that the Music City have a little bit unique technique or even setup of their drums. As most of their snare drums, even I think way back 2015, it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit higher than other drum corps.
Mm.
So I'm not sure if it deals with the training or the technique.
You mean higher than? What do you mean by that?
than it is set up than higher.
The way
It's a little
they
bit higher than other drum corps.
right. Oh, so they started getting better. They started.
I mean the setup of the snare drum,
The height itself,
the
the
Oh,
setup
the
of the
height of the
snare
snare
drum. Yeah.
drum. Yeah.
drum height. Yeah.
Well, the thing with Music City is they've had a lot of different. They the last couple years now they've had the same staff, but they had a lot of staff changes year to year, and so with that, whoever comes in to teach the group, they bring their own perspective. I never really taught that group. I just wrote for the group. That was an example where I went in a few times to rehearsals, or I listened to tapes and gave them feedback on tapes, but I was never in front of them teaching, hardly ever. Um,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, now they have you know, I think the last year I taught there was the first time they had made it into the top 25, or the last time I wrote. But they've made making some great strides. They've got some great teachers now, and I mean they've got Tom Rarick's writing the front ensemble, and Tom Ungst from the cadets is helping out with some of the battery stuff, and so that it's going to be interesting to see. I think it takes a long time. Music City is relatively new. It's a new drum corps, and it just takes a long time to get your footing. To keep getting better and better, and I think they're on a great track. So it's really fun to see.
Yes. Julie, about the arranging setup, can you share anything? How does the arranging in DCI uh, occur, or what comes first if you're a battery arranger? Did they give you a score sheet of the brass or the percussion ensemble, or what comes first usually?
Usually, I can only speak to kind of what I do, but it depends on the percussion arranger how involved they are in the design, the overall design. Like there's some groups that I've taught for where they decided all the music that was going to be played, the brass arranger arranged it, and then they hand it to me, and then I didn't really have any input in what the music was, how it was going to be arranged with the brass. I just basically they want me to write percussion to it. In that case, um, usually in any writing situation, I try to if it's music if it's not original music, if they're selecting music that's already out in the universe, then I try to listen to the recordings and different recordings a lot. So I'll spend a lot of time in the beginning. I usually do it on my way to work and back, just listening to that music in my car and just really familiarizing myself with everything and trying to pick up a lot of things in the listening process that maybe I didn't know if I didn't know that music very well. And then I'll print out the score of the brass score, and I'll listen and just watch the brass score and kind of try to get a feel for, what are the low brass doing? Who has the melody line in this phrase? If say it's trumpets, okay. How do I want to maybe, what in percussion can support the trumpets? I look at one other thing I look at a lot is the texture of the score. So if I see a phrase and everyone's playing and the texture's full, everybody in the ensemble and the brass are playing, then I know that's going to affect how I write percussion. I'll probably make sure that's a full ensemble percussion moment because it has to have that support to be everybody's playing. But if it's a trumpet line that has a melody and there's not many people playing, then I'm going to try to maybe match that texture a little bit, where I might say, I might have the tenors or just the snares play with very sparse bass drum. I really look at texture and density on the page, and timbres. It's interesting because certain timbres can share a phrase, and it can be great. Like you can put snares and trumpets and share a phrase, but sometimes the snares might be too close to the high timbre as the trumpets. So it might be better to pair the tenors with the trumpets, because the tenors have a middle voice and the trumpets have a high voice, so they can both coexist and not cancel each other out or get in the way of each other. So I pay a lot of attention to texture and timbres. And then my next step is I literally just start, as I'm listening, I take a pencil and I just start, writing in little cues to myself. What I think I might write: snares here, bass drum solo here, tenors here, and I full ensemble here, and I just start making notes all over the score of what I think I'm going to pair together with the brass, and then I'll sit down and start writing. And a lot of times I don't write measure one first. It's whatever I'm inspired to write. If I'm looking at the page and I have something draws my ear to these two phrases, I might start with that and kind of move around. So I'm not going to write. A lot of times I don't write consecutively.
Sir Sator, I think we need to organize a arranging workshop with Julie. This is really
Yeah,
interesting.
sure.
Totally.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
last, do you have any advice for aspiring arrangers?
Mm.
How to start or how to be good in arranging, especially maybe we can talk in battery or drumline, especially in battery and drumline.
Okay. Um, what advice I would give? Um,
Yes.
well, I think, and I uh, just start. If you've never done it before, just start. One, you'll learn a lot just by doing. So I know when I started, uh, I was so nervous to write my first band show. I didn't know if I was going to be any good at it, but fortunately, I was writing for a group I was teaching, so I thought, well, if it's bad, I can just change it. It's not the case when someone hires you and you just write the music and turn it in anymore. But I knew in my first 8 to 10 years, I was writing for groups I was teaching, so I learned a lot in that. And if it didn't work, I didn't. I just tried to, okay, what I can revise this, I can change it, I can edit it. And so just getting started, and you can start with simple things. You can start with exercises. You can start with a cadence. Usually I teach some percussion ensemble or marching percussion arranging here at the university, and I usually have them start by writing a cadence. I just kind of want to see how they write for snare, tenor, bass, and what do they hear, and I talk about form. Does it have an intro? There's some simple things right out of the gate. Like if you're writing a cadence, maybe think about having an intro. 4 bars, 8-bar intro. Then, an A phrase, what we call an A phrase, whatever that is, a B phrase, maybe a snare solo, back to the A phrase, tenor solo, back to the A phrase, and a outro, then a conclusion, or however you want to do it. But if you think about a form ahead of time, you're gonna, in a cadence, you're gonna have an intro and an outro, right? Like the outro is gonna be something probably really kind of big, right? So you're gonna have those, right? And then it's like, what do you want to do in the middle? But you can start with that, and then another great thing to do is start arranging things that you hear. Like if you have a song on the radio that you like, and I don't think about like you have to arrange the whole tune and it's going to be this huge ginormous project. Maybe arrange the verse of a tune, or a chorus, or one verse and a chorus. And if it has melody, you can arrange that for the marimbas and vibes and stuff, and then write drumline parts to it. So that might be 16 bars or 32 bars. So you don't have to like take on huge projects. Just start doing it. And then, of course, listening to a lot, YouTube, watching. I mean, I listen and examine my colleagues' writing a lot. Um, so, like all my friends that are teaching Blue Coats and Blue Devils and all the drum corps, I mean, I'm constantly like studying videos, and you can learn a lot now that they have all those like where they show the music. I take screenshots sometimes. I'm like, oh, I love that tenor part. I'll just screenshot it and then learn it. And I find new ways to write something that I might not have written. Um, so there's lots of resources, but I think the most important thing is just start and do it, and you'll learn so much along the way.
So you play
Yeah, thanks for that.
mostly what you write, especially in tenors. You play it.
Yeah, I do. But I know I have some. I've had some students in the past that are pretty good writers, and they're not. I don't want to say they're not great players, but they weren't like virtuosic players. But they write really great stuff. So I don't think you have to be a phenomenal player to write well. I think it helps to know your instruments and to know your certainly a certain level of proficiency. But I've known lots of people that aren't at a super high level to be able to play everything, but they're pretty good writers.
Interesting. Wow.
Well, thank you for that.
Absolutely. Any
So,
other
anything?
questions in
Do
the
you have
chat?
any questions or any thoughts,
Um,
Ryan, Isaac?
balance. Where there's one question in the on the chat. Also from Richard. It says, in writing a percussion score sheets, what advice could you give other trainers? Is it the same? Or arranger in
Yes.
order to have the
Yeah,
balance, right? Same.
I think she
Sound. I think
answered already.
quality sound. Yeah. I think
Uh,
this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Great. So yeah. Whew.
Yeah, we got all the
That
stuff,
honestly,
was that
Julie
was
great
here.
stuff.
I know.
Uh,
I
yes,
know.
honestly,
I'm
Julie
so
here in the Philippines, most players don't read music because
right.
uh, so that's a really big problem here in the Philippines. Mostly the instructors, trainers, and the directors are the only one can read music. Then they will teach uh,
Oh yeah. Mm.
um, personally the music they wrote.
They
So
play
that's
it.
Mm.
yes,
They play it, and then the
they play
students.
it in
Yeah.
front.
Right. Well, I mean, I would hope that over time they'll. I feel like with one of my first teaching jobs, my students didn't read very well at all,
Mm.
and they had learned that way as well. They had learned by their teacher showing them, and they had some decent. They could play pretty well, but once I slowly started to teach them how to read, it unlocked a lot for them, and so they had a better understanding of what are these patterns. So if the teachers in the Philippines can slowly, you know, it'll take time, but slowly start to teach the students how to read. I think
Mm.
knowing how to read and also picking up by ear both are really valuable
Mhm.
tools.
Mhm.
I think learning to play by ear is a great tool. You know you can focus less on what your eyes are trying to
Watching.
take in, but I think both have value. So that if they can start to incorporate that, but I hope like with this hand separate approach that I
Mhm.
showed you with
Yeah.
they're learning probably rudimental patterns, right? They're learning rudiments and patterns. So you can learn that and use that approach without looking at the music.
That's right. That's
So hopefully those strategies will still be helpful.
right.
All right.
Wow.
Okay.
Whew.
I think that's a lot
Right.
for today.
Thanks.
I know.
So,
A wealth
I
of
think
information.
we're good.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Hey,
And
real quick,
Mm.
I wanted to share to the
Oh yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
yeah,
viewers
sure.
out there. So I'm going to, when we're done here today, I'm going to put copies. I'm going to send copies to Ryan and Satter for a couple things. So I wrote this snare duet, marching snare duet, um, and I'm gonna load that so they can give that to you to have. Um, and really, if you don't want to do it as a duet, you could learn each part separately. There's a lot of tools there. And then I wrote a tenor book
Wow.
um,
Wow.
years ago, and I'm going to give a. I'll send a few pages of exercises and a tenor
Yeah.
solo from the book. So everybody
Wow.
online watching, there's going to be more music, free
Woo.
music for you to come,
Wow.
and my gift. And
Wow.
I just hope today's been helpful, and
Oh,
I look
Yeah.
really?
forward to seeing great videos and hopefully maybe even one day, making
Yeah.
it over to
Yeah,
teach.
yeah.
So
And maybe even
I'll see you.
yeah. Maybe even the
Yeah.
possibility of hooking us up with other guests that we can feature. Right?
absolutely, I'm happy to.
Yeah. We'll see you online. See you at Basic this year.
Oh,
See you
wow.
at Basic, yeah. See you online.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hope to see you in Asia. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
there are many
me too.
possibilities.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone so much for spending a couple hours with us today, and I hope it wasn't too detailed. Um,
Not at all.
but yeah, I was thrilled to be a part of it, and thank you for having me as a guest, and continue the great work you guys are doing. You're doing some amazing things, changing the world over there. So,
Oh, wow.
congratulations.
Thank you, Julie. We
So
hope
yeah.
we.
So thank you so much. Well, also thanks again, Julie. Thanks everyone for joining us. Check this video at PAS Philippine chapter Facebook group as well as PAS Philippine YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So you can check more fundamentals under pas.org under resources. And then last thing, if you're looking for more resources, join PAS.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can chat with Julie Davila online on
Woohoo.
Facebook. And again, thanks to my co-hosts, great co-host, Isaac de Alba, Vice President, Ryan Peralta, Broadcasting Manager, and then to our PAS President 2023, Julie Davila. Many thanks for sharing your
Thank
time and
you.
talent to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're good. Have a good night and see you online.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Thank you,
Thank you
Isaac,
very much.
Setter.
Thank
All right.
you.
Okay. So we're good, Setter?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.